everybody. Welcome to The Hustle on WLVS, right across from where I grew up. Everybody knows Howard University. Gary, you went to Howard too?
I went to Howard. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
All right. Wonderful. Anyway, I'm so happy to have Gary in. I love talking sports with Gary. Gary goes so far back. Oh, my God. I mean, it's just crazy, all the stuff that is in this man's brain in terms of sports. But nonetheless, anyway, welcome to The Hustle. Lawrence, how you doing? You good? Okay, good. You'll see Lawrence in a minute. We're still getting him on camera. But anyway, so I just wanted to say real quick, just to give everybody an update about a couple of things. One is I'm going to be starting a boxing series. Okay, so I want boxers on my show. And I want everything boxing. And a lot of people don't know this, is that my grandfather, I come from a boxer. So my grandfather was a very famous boxer in Massachusetts. And back then, in the 30s, he had a title, which I don't even think, it doesn't even exist anymore. But he was heavyweight champion of New England. His name is Jimmy Mendes, and he had over 60 fights. And my grandfather was a beast. He was like 6'2", 6'3", 250 pounds. And this is in the 30s.
That's huge.
That's huge for the 30s.
Joe Louis wasn't even 200 when he was
Joe
world
Louis
champion.
was not, nope, right. Mm-hmm. And so my grandfather, it was very difficult for him to get boxing matches because nobody wanted to fight somebody that big. They people just were not that big back then. So my grandfather used to have to go to Europe to get boxing matches. So when you look at his record, you will see a lot of boxing matches from Europe. And he used to also date like Josephine Baker and all this stuff. I mean, my grandfather had such an incredible life, but he also supplemented his income by being a fisherman. And you know, people in Massachusetts, a lot of the men up there were fishermen, especially like Cape Verdeans that came over on the boat like my grandfather did. And so my grandfather came over at like 9 years old by himself. He lived in people's basements. He got food from trash. I mean, my grandfather just grew up the worst. He grew up really, really hard. But he learned how to box on the street. And he was an incredible beast, and maybe sometimes that didn't contribute to who he was as a person because he didn't understand women in sports. And my mother inherited his athletic gene, and so he really did not like that and used to deter her from participating in sports because he just didn't believe that women back in the 30s should be playing sports.
Very true. I mean, there weren't that many. I mean, you had Babe Dickinson, Zaharias, but that was pretty much, one of the few.
Yeah,
and a number of tennis players like Suzanne Longland, people like that.
Yeah, so so he really wanted my mother's brother to really participate in sports, and my mother's brother was not interested, even though my mother's brother was like 6'5" and got all of him in him, but he just didn't. My mother was the one who was like the competitive swimmer and stuff like that. So anyway, so I'm kind of partial to boxers. I love the whole boxing industry, and I really want to open up my show to the whole boxing industry in DC and be a part of it in some capacity. If I could be, help with the promotion, have boxers come on my show, I really want to do that. So I'm just spreading the word out, and I thought, who better to kick off maybe my series? Maybe Gary can help me. I don't know.
Love to.
Since I know he's the one in the boxing world in DC. Obviously Michael Brown's going to be here next week. He's going to be talking about politics, but he's also going to talk about the fact that when he was on the DC Boxing Commission as well, and how we can get more involved and get boxing to be what it used to be.
Well, you're interesting you mentioned Michael Brown because he was vice chair of the DC Boxing Wrestling Commission. And actually, next month we have an anniversary. It was 20 years ago in April of 1999, April 22nd, 1999. We had a card here in DC called the Triple Jeopardy card.
Yes.
And that card was significant for a couple of reasons. Number one, we had 3 of our beltweight boxers fighting for world championships. Mark Johnson, Keith Holmes, and Sean Mitchell defended his title against another local boxer, Reggie Showtime Green. But that card was a Don King card, and it was significant because they tried open scoring that night. It was a live show, televised on Showtime, and Michael Brown was kind of the voice of the commission for that, trying to kind of explain why DC was involved with it and what they were planning to do with it. It was just a test. Unfortunately, open scoring just did not work. Simple as that. It didn't work.
But what is open scoring for
open
people
scoring,
that don't know?
Okay, open scoring basically means that the audience, the crowd, knows what the score is. Now, the question is the judges' scores are. Now, what the question is, how are you going to do that? Now, one of the bouts, the Mitchell Green bout, they announced the scores after every round. Jimmy Lennon Jr. was the ring announcer, and they announced the scores after every round. When Keith Holmes defeated Hassan Sharifi, I think they announced it after the 6th round.
Okay.
And when Johnson fought guy named Ratanachai Vorpin, they announced it every 4 rounds. And what was interesting about Johnson, I talked to Mark after the bout. He said, late in the bout, he knew he was ahead. He coasted the rest of the way. And that was one of the reasons why open scoring did not work, because people knew where they were and they didn't give the fans the show that they deserved. That's one of the reasons.
That's one. Oh, so now it's like kept kind of under wraps a little bit, just to kind of
it's always been that way. This is an experiment they tried in DC, and Don King was very up for it. And I mean, it was a good idea. I had no problem with the idea of them doing open scoring, but the fact of the matter is, it just didn't work in any way.
I see. Anyway, so that's all. I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be kicking up a boxing series, because I know there are boxing matches that start as early as like March 24th. I think I was looking.
This Sunday,
right? At MGM. There's some coming up in May.
We have one in April. We have a pro show actually April's a huge month for us, because we've got not only a pro show at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. That'll be on April 20th. But we have some major amateur cards that are coming up in the month of April. We have the Washington Golden Gloves on April 6th. In fact, Rosecroft Raceway will be used every Saturday for the month of April.
For boxing
yes.
matches.
Because April 6th, we have the Washington Golden Gloves. April 12th through possibly the 14th, 12th through the 13th, we have the Virginia, North Carolina Golden Gloves. Apparently, they couldn't do it in Virginia for monetary reasons, so they moved it to Rosecroft. Then the pro show on the 20th, and then the regional Golden Gloves is on the 27th of April. At Rosecroft Raceway. And then to top that all off, we have the Belfast Beltway Boxing Classic at the Washington Wardman Hotel in Northwest D.C. That'll be on April 27th as well. So
are you going to come back then in April?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So we're definitely going to have Gary, because we love when Gary's here. Gary knows everything. So I love talking with Gary. He was the first person I thought of when it comes to boxing, and I'm so happy that you ended up coming.
Thank you.
Everyone, this is Gary Williams, my friend, and such a great person to have here. He can talk about sports more than me, so I can shut my mouth up.
Oh, goodness.
Because everybody knows I can chit-chat and run my mouth forever and ever. But anyway, so I'm glad to have him here. And then later on in the show, we're going to show like some fun videos of the Capital City Go-Go, because they're almost at the end of their season. They only have like 2 games this week.
Yeah, both on the road.
Both on the road. They play like the San Antonio Spurs G League team and the Golden State Warriors G League team, who I hear that both of those teams probably could be starters for some other NBA teams. But anyway, that's what I heard. So they're trying to make the playoffs as well. So we wish them the best, but we want to give them some love. And just to let you know, if you guys were not there on Saturday, you missed a really good game, because they won on Saturday, and it was their last home game. The Mystics going to be starting up there at the Sports and Entertainment Arena in Southeast DC. So I just wanted to give them some love, and Capital City Go-Go. So at the end, towards the end, we'll run a little fun video that Lawrence and I put together. Right, Lawrence? Okay, good. So anyway, welcome, Gary. Gary.
Yes.
There's so much stuff I want to ask you about.
Okay.
But I don't know where to start.
Well, we'll start with Sunday, March 24th at the MGM National Harbor. This is the return of the Peterson brothers, Lamont and Anthony Peterson. They are returning. The nationally televised.
I see them.
Nationally televised card on FS1. Lamont is taking on Sergey Samurai Lipinets. He's out of Beverly Hills, California, by way of Kazakhstan. Former IBF super lightweight champion. Peterson's 35-4, 35-4-1, 17 knockouts. And
17. Wait, he's 30 what?
35-4-1.
35
wins, 4
4-1.
losses,
Okay.
1 draw,
Okay, cool.
17 knockouts. And he's returning for the first time since he was stopped, I should say, by Errol Spence. Of course, Errol Spence fought last week in a great bout against Mikey Garcia.
Okay.
That was back in January 20th.
So would DC people be familiar with any one of these guys?
Oh, Lamont's a legend here. Lamont and his brother.
Okay.
Lamont is truly one of the greatest boxers to ever come out of DC.
Okay.
This is a guy that he and his brother Anthony, if you don't know the story, they were walking around the streets of D.C. They were homeless for the most part until their trainer, Barry Hunter, became a father figure to them. And ever since then, they have flourished. Lamont's a 3-time world champion, actually a 4-time if you count the fact that he held the interim WBO title one time. But he's won 2 IBF junior welterweight titles. Of course, he had one of the greatest bouts in beltweight boxing history when he beat Amir Khan back in 2011 at the Washington Convention Center.
Okay.
So he's a great champion, no question about that. And actually,
so he draws a crowd then.
Oh yeah,
he'll draw a crowd.
He and his brother will draw a crowd. No question.
You said now that's not easy to have him at MGM.
Well, MGM has done very well over the last year or so. They've had some great bouts. Gary Russell has fought there a couple of times. They had Gary Russell Jr., the WBC featherweight champion. He has fought there a couple of times.
Okay.
And so they've had decent crowds. And, of course, when Vasily Lomachenko fought here in April of 2017, the place was packed. But mostly people from Ukraine.
From Ukraine.
Right,
okay.
yes. A lot of people from out of the country came in to watch the fight. But still a good crowd. And we've had good crowds all throughout the time we've been at MGM. And Maryland has done outstandingly well as far as boxing is concerned.
I know.
Because they've had bouts there. They just had a bout last week a couple weeks ago at the Maryland Live Casino up in Arundel Mills in Hanover, Maryland. They've used Bowie State University. I'm not sure that's going to happen much anymore. I've heard they weren't. Something happened over there. But
so, Gary, let me ask you a question. How does D.C. get boxing back? Because I remember when boxing was at the convention center.
Yeah, well,
it was so much fun.
Here's the thing. Boxing has never left D.C., really. I mean, they've had times when they've had some down years as far as getting boxing. Well, actually, one of those down years was actually last year.
Right.
However, they ended up well because they're using the entertainment sports arena in Southeast as well. They had their first card there back in early December. So, they've had the bouts.
Okay,
in
so
the
it's
area.
not going to be a convention center anymore.
Convention center might be used soon. Actually, Gary Russell Jr. wants to do a card at the D.C. Armory.
Oh, at the D.C.
DC
Okay, the D.C. Armory too?
Yeah, in D.C. And they want to use, I think, eventually the anthem in Southwest.
Okay.
Then they want to use that eventually. Cause I know
that's
WWE has used that. NXT has gone down there for that. But they want to do boxing everywhere they can in the area. Okay. I think the biggest problem with DC boxing primarily is the fact, although there is a subway stop at most of the locations in the area, for those who don't want to take the subway, for those who cannot take the subway, parking is an issue. That's a major issue. Whereas in Maryland, I mean, you go to the MGM National Harbor is one of the great places to come in and out of.
Oh my God.
Maryland Live is not that bad either. And then you have places like we used to use back in the day, the Showplace Arena up in Marlboro. We used to use Martin's Crosswinds. We used to use Martin's West. We still use
space.
Yeah, there's space and there's parking. There's space and there's parking. So it really is a difficulty in DC for that. Maryland has that big advantage. And Virginia has it too, but the problem is if you're from DC out of Maryland, that could be quite a hump. And there is going to be a card out there in April as well, April 27th at Tyson's Playground in Tyson's, Virginia. But if you live in DC and Maryland, that's a hike.
That's another hike.
That's a hike.
That's an issue there. That's why Maryland is so convenient. And to be honest, I live next to National Harbor, so I mean it is.
Yeah, it's very convenient, and I tell you, it is one of the easiest places to get. It is amazing how you can just drive on through there, get your parking space, go in the casino, get out there and move, and get out and go. It is wonderful. It really is. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it over there.
Wow.
And it's a great location. It really is a great location. Maryland Live's not a bad location. That's more.
But that's a little far far though for DC people as well.
Yeah,
right?
it is. I mean, it's right. It's if you go up 295, about the Baltimore Washington Parkway, it's not that bad a drive, really. And I live, in Maryland myself, so it's not like it's a major drive for me.
Right.
But it's hard to get through because you have so much stuff going on over there.
Right.
You have the whole plaza over there. So you
Yes.
got Dave and Buster's over there. You've got Books a Million.
Yes.
You've got Medieval Times over there. So you got to go through that traffic to got to get to
Right.
Arundel Mills, to a live casino.
Live, yeah.
But actually, the card we had at Live Casino in August of last year, my partner and I, Juan Marshall and I, we named that our Beltway Boxing Card of the Year because they had the knockout, they had the bout of the year that night. That was Donald Walls taking on Ashton Sykes. They had one of the best bouts of the year in Bustos and Javon John, and they had one of the best knockouts of the year that night too. Plus, they had a great main event. Demar Nicholson won the WBC USNBC title that night, and it was on national television on CBS Sports.
Oh, it was.
So yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, the
nice.
Peterson Brothers card will be live on FS1.
Oh, on FS1 as
well.
well.
But still come to the card.
Yes.
But it will be live on FS1.
Oh, wow. So that's going to draw out even more of a crowd, though, I think, right?
Definitely,
and it's at MGM.
MGM, yeah.
And that's this Sunday.
This coming Sunday, yes.
Oh, that's going to be packed.
March
What time?
24th. The card starts at 5 o'clock in the evening. The preliminaries will be on PBC and on Fox Deportes at 6 p.m. And then the main event, the featured bouts, there'll be 3 featured bouts on the card. Lamar Peterson against Sergey Lipinas. Anthony Peterson take on Argenis Mendez, who's another former world champion. And a guy by the name of Jamonte Clark.
Okay.
And he'll take on a guy by the name of Vernon Brown.
Okay.
And Clark actually made his pro debut here in Washington, D.C. back in 2014 on the undercard of Lamar Peterson and Jerry John at the D.C. Armory. So there'll be a couple other Beltway boxers on the show. Brandon Qualls out of Alexandria will be on the show. This guy, he's a rookie this year. This is his first full year as a pro. And he's one of the most celebrated amateurs that came out of Baltimore in a long time. He's out of the same gym as WBA super featherweight champion Gervonta Davis. Guy by the name of Lorenzo Truck Simpson. This guy is solid. He really is. He's 2-0, 2 KOs as a pro, and I love him. I think
how tall is he?
He's not that
Is
tall.
he?
He's not that. He's about 5. I'd say he's about 5'8", 5'9".
Oh, okay.
Maybe 5'10". He's grown a lot, but this kid is something special. He
Really? What makes him so special?
He's kind of like Gervonta in the sense that he's kind of wise beyond his years. One of the things that always impressed me about Gervonta as an amateur, Gervonta Davis, was that he was wise beyond his years even as an amateur. And Lorenzo has a lot of that. Again, they're from the same gym, from the Upton Boxing Gym in Baltimore. And he's a quality boxer, no question about it. He won 6 Silver Glove championships in 6 different weight classes. Only one other boxer in the history of the Silver Gloves has done that. Guy by the name of Nico Hernandez, who was a Olympian in 2016. And he beat the record that was set by Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. So that's how good Lorenzo Truck Simpson is. Yeah.
Wow.
And,
that's excellent.
And they're looking at possibly, we haven't heard it yet, but possibly Patrick Harris scheduled to be on the card out of the Headbangers Gym. Also, Kobe the Soldier Breedy. He's a young man out of Clinton, Maryland, by way of Barbados. And he is 12-0, 4 KOs. So he could be on the show. Kareem Remo Martin could be on the show as well. We haven't heard anything about their opponents yet.
Okay.
But hopefully they'll be on the show.
Oh, okay. So they're they're still
we don't know
making
yet.
up
We
the
don't know
card
about
in terms of them.
Yeah, they have 6 bouts scheduled, and again, the show starts at 5, and they're doing television at 8. There may not be a whole lot of bouts on that card.
Oh,
they have 6 bouts scheduled right now.
Because the main one is at what time on
main
Sunday?
one will probably come on about 10 o'clock. Lamont and Sergey Lipinas will probably come on about 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay, so that means they'll probably only get to maybe 3.
No, they start at 5, so they'll get they'll have the early bouts, and then the first bout on the main televised broadcast will be Jamonte Clark and Vernon Brown.
Oh, okay,
Then Anthony Peterson and then Lamont.
Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's just talk about this then. Let's talk about in terms of boxing, like who are the trainers now? Because at one time, like when Tyson was playing, was boxing, you knew the promoter, you knew the trainers. I mean, you just knew the team, the entourage, you just knew that. It was so sexy. And I feel like we need to bring that back to boxing.
Well, we do need to bring that back.
Yeah.
And some of them have. I mean, the thing about it, see, a lot of the old guard has unfortunately passed away. I mean, you look at the four kings of boxing, which are usually regarded as Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. All four of those trainers that they had have all passed away. Ray Arcel for Duran, Angelo Dundee for Leonard, Emmanuel Stewart for Hearns, and Goody Petronelli for Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So all of those have gone. Plus, you've lost Lou Duva. Lou Duva passed away recently. So really, it's a newer breed of trainers right now. So really, the only one really in that old guard right now that's still around and still doing well is our very own Adrian Davis out of Washington, D.C.
He's out of D.C.
Oh,
Adrian
definitely.
Davis.
Round one gym, definitely. Oh, Adrian Davis has trained as many world champions as anybody. I mean, you talk about he trained. I think he trained 3 of the 4 of our 4 kings in D.C. Keith Holmes, William Joppy, and Sean Bay Mitchell. He trained all of them. He trained.
Those are some names right there. Yeah. I know.
The only one he didn't train was Mark Johnson because Mark Johnson was trained by his father, Ham, another one of the old guard. So you look at. He trained those guys. He trained the late Johnny Tapia. He trained Hasim Rahman. He trained him when he won the world title. Trained one of our great female boxers, Isra Gerger Wynn, who was a DC Boxing Hall of Famer. So he's one of the few old guard guys left. Okay. So now they're looking at people like Barry Hunter here in Washington, D.C., who trains at the trains boxers at the Headbangers Gym. You look at guys like what's the guy's name? Mike Shepard. Okay. Who trained? I think he trains Adrian Broner. His name's Shepard. Adrian Broner. Okay. You're looking at people like there are a lot of families now, which is pretty cool. A lot of guys train their sons. Yeah. You got.
Do you think Mayweather kind of kicked that off a little bit with his father?
No. If anybody did it, it might have been Mark. I mean, all honesty, Mark Johnson. I mean, he and Ham were together from the very early days, and
How about Oscar De La Hoya though?
Well, he dropped his father.
He dropped his father. Okay.
Didn't Joe Frazier train all his kids?
Trained Marvis. Yeah, he did train a little bit of Marvis. Much as it helped. For as long as it helped. I mean, once he ran into Mike Tyson was all she wrote there. Right. So we have that. We have some of the trainers here, and I think with the promoters again. Don King is kind of by the wayside now. We don't see a lot of Don King now. De La Hoya is doing well still. The big guy, one of the big guys, is of course Al Heyman. Al Heyman I know he's got at least 10 guys from this area.
Wow.
Al Heyman has at least 10 guys from this area.
So
I'm sorry, about Freddie Roach.
Oh. Yeah, Freddie. Yeah, I guess you consider him more than the whole guy, old guard. Yeah.
Yeah, because wasn't he Tyson?
No.
Freddie Roach, Tyson?
No, he did Pacquiao.
Pacquiao. And he trained Amir Khan when Khan lost to Peterson here. He was in Amir Khan's corner that night.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's just like, I mean, I'm just saying, I just find that, there was such I don't know, do we need personalities too though?
Well,
the big ones like
the
Tyson.
problem with the personalities in this business.
Yes.
Is that they're the personalities for a lot of the wrong reasons. Okay? I mean, for example, give you 2 examples. Number 1, Adrian Broner. Now, Adrian Broner is a very talented boxer.
Yes.
And when he's on his game...
Who's he with? Just to let everyone know?
Okay, Adrian, well, let's see. That's a good question because he kind of goes from boxer to boxer. I mean, trainer to trainer, excuse me.
But he was with Mayweather, I thought.
Well, yeah, he was kind of with Mayweather Promotion. That kind of fell apart.
The money team?
Yeah, he was part of that.
Okay.
But every now and then, for example, Broner would come to D.C. and train with the Headbangers.
Oh, okay.
And Barry Hunter and I had a conversation about this just a couple weeks ago. When he was down here, and I can vouch for this.
Okay.
He was on his best behavior. He was training like nobody's business.
Oh.
He would go and support the boxing in the area. He would come to some of the pro shows in D.C. I saw him at the convention center.
Okay.
He would come to the amateur show when the Golden Gloves used to be at Sugar Ray Leonard Gym in Palmer Park. He was there, and he was on his best behavior.
Okay.
Get him outside this area, man would run amok. And that was the problem. He would run amok. And
But what was it about this area that he was so disciplined?
That was it. It was discipline. It was all about discipline. Barry's a no-nonsense guy. Barry is a no-nonsense guy. And he doesn't go with that foolishness.
You're not going to come train over here and create
foolishness.
a whole bunch of confusion and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Mike Stoddard is the guy's name I'm thinking about. But anyway, that's what happened here. Okay. Same with Gervonta Davis. Now, Gervonta, again, one of the best boxers in this area, but he's gone out with Floyd Mayweather. He's with Floyd Mayweather. And when he's out of the realm of his trainers primarily, Calvin Ford and Kenny Ells over at Upton, and also outside of Barry Hunter, because he's trained over the Headbangers from time to time. When he's here, he's on his best behavior. And the fans love him. He is. He's had a billboard in his honor. From Under Armour. I don't know if that deal is still there, but he's had all that.
Yeah.
But he goes out of there and he gets into craziness. And he's had issues with. He's got kind of an issue with another boxer, another world champion in the super featherweight division, a guy named Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer's out of Philadelphia. He just fought last week and won his bout by unanimous decision. I don't think he's in Gervonta's class, but Gervonta just needs to keep his mouth shut. He's 22, 23 years old now. He needs to keep his mouth shut.
Oh, that's hard to do for 22.
Oh, it is. No question. it is for him.
That's the biggest lesson.
But with Gervonta, his biggest thing was, and I think Broner to a extent is that way too. These are guys, especially in Gervonta's case, that grew up from literally nothing.
Oh,
all right, they came from a tough family background. They both his parents had issues, and he came to Upton Gym in Baltimore to really kind of escape everything, and he done extremely well.
Yeah,
he won national Golden Gloves and is 2-time world champion. But his last bout that he won, he fought that bout for $1 million, and I can't remember the last time other than possibly Daryl Coley fighting for $1 million out of the beltway. Daryl Coley fought for $1 million when he took on Oscar De La Hoya, but. So he went from 0 to 60 money wise,
right?
And then I think he doesn't know how to handle it.
He doesn't know how
and
to
all
handle
the
it.
accoutrements that come along with it. I mean, Floyd is giving him cars, he's giving him all sorts of things.
Oh wow!
So he's gotten everything handed to him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
After not having anything handed to him before.
Yeah. But you know what though, Gary? You would think that some of these athletes, I don't care whether they're playing football, basketball, whatever, boxing, that they would be so appreciative. And is that like a quick fleeting moment? Then all of a sudden they believe they're hype, or what is it about?
Well, I think it's a little bit of that, but I think they appreciate it, but they want more.
Oh.
You see, that's the key. They want more, and they don't know how to work for what they want. And I think that's a lot of the issue right there. I do think it's a lot of issue. Because by contrast, and I was thinking about this, I actually did a podcast on my podcast this past week about this. Our 3 world champions in the area, Gary Russell Jr., Gervonta Davis, and the WBA, IBF, IBO World super welterweight champion, Jarrett Hurd.
Okay.
Russell and Hurd have strong family backgrounds.
Okay.
You
mean their families are
involved?
Are all,
oh, goodness gracious. Yes, they are.
Okay. Oh, wonderful.
I mean, because Gary Russell Sr. is Gary's trainer.
Okay.
Along with his brother, Alan.
Okay.
And then he's got his other brothers. He's got Antoine and Antonio there. So they're all there. The mother's there. Luana's there. They are a great family. No question about that. Jarrett Hurd on his end, not only does he have his trainer, Ernesto Rodriguez, he's got Fred and Brenda Hurd.
Okay.
They do an outstanding job. So, and he's got his brother Justin who supports him. And also, Jarrett has a big fan following. A lot of people don't know that, but he's a huge fan following in the area. Be as it may, they have what Gervonta does not have. And Gervonta does not have a strong family structure. Thank God for Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis, because he'd be worse off than he is. If he did not have those two behind him.
Yeah.
I mean, Calvin, a lot of people don't know about Calvin. Calvin Ford, I don't know how many people watch The Wire on HBO. But there was a character in The Wire, Cuddy, I think his name was. I wasn't a big fan, but he was named Cuddy, who was a drug dealer and then owned a boxing gym.
Okay.
In The Wire. Calvin Ford is the model for that particular character. For that character, yes.
Oh, wow.
Because Calvin Ford was a major drug dealer in Baltimore for many years.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. So he changed his life around.
Oh, yes, he did. No question. He does an outstanding job.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That is to be commended. Wow.
Yeah.
That's excellent, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, do you think that sometimes, does it make you a better boxer, you think, because I think about my grandfather's story, and I can't even imagine a 9-year-old coming over on a boat from the Cape Verde Islands and not even really speaking the English like my grandfather did, and living basically in people's basements and eating out of trash cans, basically as a 9-year-old, and raised himself. I mean, I'm just saying, but that made him, I mean, I think about my grandfather, and even my grandmother used to tell us, his work ethic was so strong.
Well, I think an example of that would be the Peterson brothers. Now, the Peterson brothers, and I think Anthony had a great quote during their media today a couple weeks ago. They asked him, because Anthony Peterson has not fought very consistently. He's fought like 7 times over the past 7 years.
Okay.
So he hasn't had a lot of fights. So one of the reporters asked him, what's it like to wait for your fight? Because a lot of times it was either he getting injured, his opponent's getting injured and having to back out, or something would happen that his fight wouldn't take place.
Right.
And he said, waiting's not a big deal. Both of them said, and actually Anthony Lamont said this, we had to wait to get in line for the shelter. We had to wait in line for the food. That was bad news. That's basically, that's paraphrasing.
Yeah.
That's basically what he said.
That's his life experience.
That's his life experience, exactly. So waiting on a fight is no big deal. It's nothing, exactly. It's no big deal.
He used to have to wait for food.
Right, exactly. Wait for it. Wait to be in the shelter.
And wait to be in the shelter.
Right. So,
in the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not even enough clothes on.
Exactly.
Lord.
So that was the big thing. So you think about it from that angle, it's not, it's amazing to see how some of these guys have come up over the years. Not just here in the area, but around the world.
Around the world. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So what do you think of Conor McGregor and all of the whole UFC and all that stuff?
Well,
MMA. What do you think about that? I'm just saying, as like a true boxing, blogger that you are. What do you think about that type of fighting?
I personally am not a huge MMA fan.
Okay.
I've always said that MMA and boxing can exist in the same universe. I've always said that.
Okay.
So I don't have any problem with it. I've done a couple of MMA cards. I've broadcast a couple of MMA cards over the last couple of years over at the Patriot Center at the Eagle Bank Arena now at George Mason University. My issue with MMA is strictly a physical one, in all honesty, because I don't get the concept of knocking a guy down, knocking a woman down, and then hitting him while they're down. That is foreign to me.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That is foreign to me, in all honesty. This ground and pound stuff. It's foreign to me.
That's the only aspect I don't like. I don't agree with jumping on top of something.
Right, exactly.
There's no skill in that.
I think one of the issues with MMA that I see is that it is not regionalized enough. By that I mean, we should have a thriving MMA base here in the Beltway like we do a boxing base.
Yes.
And we don't have that.
That's a great
and we
idea.
don't have that. We really don't have that.
Yes.
I mean, yes, John Rollo, a good friend of mine, he promotes shows in Baltimore and actually do very well over there at the Royal Farms Arena. And then we've had shows, like I said, in Virginia. We've had a few shows in D.C. as well. But there should be more fighters coming out, MMA fighters coming out of the D.C., Baltimore, Virginia area.
Right.
And they're not. They're not there. And they have opportunities. They got the Ultimate Fighter show and other shows.
Are they just not promoting the sport here? Is that enough or not enough?
That's part of it, but I think they're still trying to grow the sport, and I'm not sure they're doing a great job. I mean, boxing has had, I've been doing it for 36 years, so they've had at least 40 years almost ahead of us. I mean, if you go back, if you just started, started 76 with Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yes.
I mean, with him going in the Olympics, that for me was where boxing really took off. Yes, we had Holly Mims. Yes, we had B.B. Washington. We had Adrian Davis was a boxer. Of course, we had Bob Foster was a world champion when he was here. He trained out of D.C. when he was as a pro boxer. He was originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. But we've had almost 45 years head start on MMA.
Right.
And so they're still looking to find themselves. And,
I think
what's going on with Dana White and UFC isn't, they're kind of, it's kind of shaky over there. So
I think the business format's a little different. They kind of had a pro wrestling format where
they do have
the organization is highlighted, not the fighters.
Exactly. That's a very good point, because they not only have that, but they also have, Dana White's a big figure. They one thing I like about UFC that the boxing should adopt is they only have one champion. In other words, they only have one federation. They only have one governing body. So, UFC may have theirs, Bellator, they're still around. I'm not sure Bellator's still around, but they have theirs.
Yeah, they're still around.
They have the champions of that division.
They're around the struggle. They struggle.
Right.
UFC makes it hard to.
Definitely. So, UFC has, and of course UFC attracts a younger fan base too. Overall, they really do. They take a good tween teen fan base.
Right.
That boxing is really still trying to get back.
Yeah, it's trying to get back, but I think boxing will always be something special about
boxing
it.
will always be here.
But we have to preserve it, though, and I think that
I don't think boxing's going away anytime soon. And again, when you have what's great about boxing, I never forget, Angela Dundee told me this: if you have a certain boxer in every area that's what I like to call a franchise boxer, and they start drawing in the crowds, boxing thrives. Jimmy Lang was that here in the D.C. area. Scott Sigmund up in Lynchburg, Virginia was like that. Fernando Guerrero, when he fought in Salisbury, Maryland, like that in the area. And then you have people like Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You had Joe Hip in New York, up in New York, upstate New York. So you have people who are franchise boxers, and that helps the boxing community survive. And of course, take your pick in Philadelphia. Take your pick there.
Yeah. See, I mean that. Oh man, it just has a rich heritage.
Oh, no question.
And and I think about obviously my grandfather, who came 20 years before Muhammad Ali, but who was I often think about, gosh, he was so before his time, really, because he would have been a much well-known contender.
Again, for him to be as huge, as big as he was, again, most of your heavyweights at that time period, you're talking people like anywhere from Joe Louis all the way to Marciano, and the only one that was as big as your grandfather probably was Primo Carnera.
Yeah.
And Primo Carnera was more tall than lean. He was 6'7", so he was more tall.
He was more tall.
Than
my grandfather had thickness to him, and I've shown you him, right, Lawrence? Haven't you seen my grandfather's pictures? And he has an incredible record too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I should know it, and I've posted it on Instagram, his record, but I know he had over 60 fights. His last fight was in 1949. And for those who don't know the story, my grandfather supplemented his income as a fisherman, and he went out in like a November of 1940s, 49, 50, around there, and his boat capsized. And if anyone knows, the waters in Massachusetts in November are extremely cold, and you cannot last that long. And he was out there for a minute, and so they were never able to find him. But and my grandmother had everybody looking for him. The Coast Guard, everybody. So, but we always try to honor him. And when I was going to grade school growing up, they would honor him in the elementary schools every Black History Month. So I grew up with a very familiar relationship, even though he came way before. He died way before I was born. But nonetheless, I just try to keep his image and what he stood for and things like that. He wasn't the greatest person, and I'm not here to say that, because my mom would be really upset with me, and she would be like, "What are you talking about? He took away my dream," and I know that. And I always said, "Ma, he might have taken away your dream because he just didn't know any better back then."
Right, exactly.
But, so nonetheless, but anyway, Gary is here. I want to get to so much stuff. Gary, we got to get to the Wizards real quick.
Okay.
Okay, because I know you've got an opinion about the Wizards. Then we got to talk really quick about the Nats. And if we don't get to the video, we'll have to run the video next week, Lawrence, okay? Just in case if we don't, because we got to get Gary's opinion on
Okay.
There is nobody better. I'm telling this guy, he's not only a blogger, he's a historian right here in the nation's capital. And you're going to come back next month, right?
Yeah, look forward to it. Definitely.
All right, great. Okay, Wizards, right?
Wizards.
Okay, Wizards. Now, you know that they came home. They had 5 games at home. Lost, 2 of them or 3 of them?
3 of them.
Right, and won like 3 or something. But did it bring them any closer? And what's up with Dwight? How do we bring Dwight on? And he's not been there for us at all, and doesn't.
And the way
like
Bradley Beal has been playing over the last few weeks, we don't need him. I mean, he's had 2 40-point games.
Yes.
And so,
but we need a rebounder.
We need definitely. I mean, we definitely need that. But again, NBA basketball is so weird now because it's so guard oriented now.
Yes.
And so
3
small
point.
for 3-point oriented. I mean, I learned that working with the Go-Go this year. It's just the way it's built now. But getting back to them, I mean, the Wizards, I think, are a playoff team. I don't think they'll be in the playoffs long because there is a gap between teams like Philadelphia and people like that who are doing well. But they're a strange ball club because they have the talent. Of course, they not having Wall this year has not helped. But,
right.
And Dwight Howard, wants to play when he wants to play, and we don't know whether or not he's going to be with us. I mean, this year. So
yeah, I mean, because think about it, he's got player option.
Right. Yeah.
So he could very well go to a team that's
Right.
more of a title contender than we are.
He being here has helped, but he hadn't been here long enough to really, really elevate this team.
His last game was November 18th.
Exactly.
And we're now almost at the end of the season. We so need him, if anything, now. And I'm going, why can't he get this injury right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure he wants to be here, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not 100% sure he wants to be here. I mean, he's here. He's here for a year or so.
Because he would have had more of a presence.
Exactly.
Right?
I think so. I think so.
But isn't that weird, though, Gary, that the big brother team, the Wizards, and their little brother team, the Go-Go, are still kind of battling to get into the playoffs, this being the week for the Go-Go, next week being the week for the Wizards. What do you think about the Go-Go and their debut season?
I had a lot of fun with them. I just wish more people show up for their games. They have some really solid players. I mean, Chasen Randall was outstanding. Jordan McRae, Chris Chioza. These guys really played well.
Yes.
They really did. And I actually, unfortunately, I think I did 6-7 games with them this year as a public address announcer. And I think they lost more than they won, unfortunately. But they were great to watch. They were a lot of fun to watch. They're a great team to watch. And, I have to say that the staff there does an outstanding job in game environment.
Yes, I thought that it's excellent to watch them.
Really a privilege to be a part of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I loved it.
Yes.
And it was just, just a shame that more people don't know about them. And they don't get a lot of publicity in the area, which is kind of bad too.
Yeah, but I don't get that about monumental sports. Why not push that a little bit more? I mean, they're pushing the arena, the entertainment and sports arena. Why not push the Mystics are even coming up soon.
Right. Yeah.
That will be out of there. And I'm going, this is the debut for the Capital City Go-Go, and then the Mystics will be playing out of there. How come we don't see anything?
It's bizarre. I'm wondering where they're going with this, and I think they've done so much for the Capitals, and the Capitals deserve it. I mean, they're defending champions, and they've played outstanding for a number of years, and of course last year was tremendous. But the Leonsis has to do a little bit better job with some of the other teams that he has under him. I mean, I'm talking about the Wizards, the Go-Go, the Valor, the Mystics, all that.
The Valor.
The Washington Valor, who won the AFL championship this year.
Won the AFL championship.
Being another one of Leonsis' team, the Baltimore
God.
Brigade. So, I mean, this is, he's got to kind of spread the wealth a little bit better than he's doing. And unfortunately, he just, Leonsis and his staff aren't doing that right now. And I think that's kind of hurting them.
That's hurting them. Yeah. Wow, that's such a good point because I forget about the Valor.
Right.
And that's the arena football.
Again,
league.
they won the championship. They had a losing record during the season, but they ended up winning the AFL
That's
championship.
incredible. And I can't believe they didn't even promote it that much.
They really didn't do it.
Wow, that's incredible.
Arena football's had a weird history here because there was a team many years ago here in Washington called the Washington Commandos.
Okay.
And they played at the old Capitol Center. And, they drew okay. They didn't draw great. But then, you come up in 2020, you got the XFL coming in.
Yes.
And you got the minor football league. The MFL might be here as well. So you got all that going on in this area.
Yes.
And just not enough people to really put out all the information. And then with the lack of really sports coverage you get on the local TV.
Yes.
It's not so much they're not doing a good job. They really are doing a good job, but they don't have a lot of time to do it.
Yes.
They on there. Back when I was growing up, George Michael, Glenn Brenner, they were on air for 5, 8, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Now they're on 2 minutes. They help if they're lucky.
Yeah, 2 minutes. But you know what the other problem is? The other problem is that shows like mine and internet shows and things like that, we get kind of dissed when we go to these events.
No question. Well,
we don't get the great interviews with some of they cater to like their own station, their partnerships and things like that. And I think that that's really a missed opportunity that the teams don't take advantage of. They should make it available because this right now, our whole world is becoming computerized.
Yes, no question.
And I'm going, how do you do that?
It's weird because, I've been covering boxing for 36 years. And the last 14 years now, I've done the blog, Boxing Along the Beltway.
Okay.
And since 2010, I've done my podcast, which you can hear on Stitcher and TuneIn and Spreaker and iHeartRadio. And it took a while because I was also writing for Fight News. I've been in Fight News for 20 years.
Right.
So I've always said, as far as boxing is concerned, the internet is saving boxing. The internet really helped boxing survive. I think it can do that for all the other sports, but the sports right now, unlike boxing, don't feel they need it yet. They got to wait until the problems take place on TNT and CBS and all the major networks.
So right, Gary.
They go to
before
the
they
internet.
start, before they go to the internet.
Right,
That
right.
is
See,
so
boxing didn't have
true.
that problem because they had already lost the CBS Sports Spectacular. They already lost Sports World and NBC. They lost ABC's Wild World Sports. And they lost USA Tuesday Night Fights, just that, and ESPN had issues there as well. So you had they lost opportunities. So the internet stepped in during that time period and really helped save them. And now you got Facebook Live. I do audio podcast live sometimes of boxing shows, and that's where it's happening. And then cable expanded as well.
Right. Yeah, see, that's why I knew it. I said, it's going to be changing. And let me tell you something. When I first started doing internet, a lot of people don't know this. I started with WPGC. WPGC didn't even have a website back then.
That's right.
They didn't have, and I said, let me put it on your website. And they were like, huh?
Yeah.
We don't have one.
Exactly.
So I said, WPGC don't have a website?
Exactly.
Oh, well, we got posted to YouTube. I said, okay.
Yeah.
Then we did that. Then we started to do, and it grew from 5,000 hits a month to 1 million hits a month. Once they started to promote it, that was obviously CBS Radio.
Right.
But, I mean, that's really how it started. And people were thinking I was crazy. But, hey, look at it now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the big things. It's like it can be difficult to gain an audience. But once you gain that audience,
once you gain
you're in good shape.
You in good shape. Exactly.
So the
Just talk,
distribution
Gary,
system.
before you go, and then tell everybody how we can find out more about your blog, your podcast, all that stuff that you do. So just talk about it real quick.
Okay.
Did you see about, before you do that, but did you see who got the highest paid today in baseball?
Oh, Mike Trout. Mike Trout. Yeah.
Mike Trout.
Bryce
What you
Harper
think
lasted
about
about
Bryce?
13. Bryce Harper lasted about 13 days as the highest paid
13
player in Major League Baseball.
Contract,
Right, that's pretty much it.
13
Yeah.
years,
So
13 days.
Mike Trout throws a heck of a talent, no question. If anybody deserves it in this business, these two guys deserve it. Bryce Harper and especially Mike Trout. Mike Trout's been an all-star. He's been an MVP. He's
always like 1 or 2 on the MVP list every single year.
Exactly. Yeah, he's fabulous. So I think he deserves it, no question about that. And Bryce deserves it too. My wish was that he did not go to a team in the NL East, in the National League East, because now we got to see him.
We got to see him and compete
12 times
against
a
him.
year. Yeah, exactly. You got to see him 12, 13 times a year. So So that's a tough one.
Well, the Yankees didn't need him anymore, so.
Yes, right. That's it.
Well, who else would have paid him that money though?
Nobody.
Do you think Dodgers wasn't going to pay him either?
They didn't do, but they paid so much for Manny Machado, so it was kind of tough there too. But
I think they were really looking for more of an infielder anyway. I don't think that Bryce was too sexy to them, being that he's a left-handed right fielder.
Right, exactly.
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't.
I mean, the Nats are going to be okay. If nothing else,
You think so?
Their pitcher will get them through. Their pitching is solid, and Max
Yeah.
Scherzer is the best in the business,
Yes.
and their pitching will be okay. Now,
And Strasburg second best?
There, right? Steven Strasburg's still there, so if they can get the hitting going in the in major league in the league, they'll be okay.
I just don't know who can get him on base though. Do you think Trey? What's his name? The leadoff.
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner, yeah. He's going to have to.
He's going to have to.
He's going to have to. No question about that. He's got to start with him.
He needs to step up in the clutch when we need a hit.
Yeah, I'm just thinking
especially in
like
the
who
playoffs.
gets
That's what
them?
they didn't have last year.
That's where we always hit the snag.
That's what they didn't have last year.
Who? What do you? I didn't hear what you
They
said.
need a clutch player, a clutch hitter.
They didn't
Yeah,
have
even Bryce wasn't clutch enough. I mean,
Exactly.
his batting average went down to I think like what 190
Well,
for a second.
Yeah,
Or
that, but he
206?
also in the playoffs he didn't do all that well. He did okay, I think, against the Giants one year, but he wasn't a major league playoff player,
Right.
In the major league. So that was kind of a problem.
Wow. Okay, so Gary, tell us how we can reach you, get all this stuff, and then tell us, what we're gonna do in terms of boxing, the fights, real quick. You can go
Okay.
over that too, just
All right.
in a few minutes we have
Okay,
left.
my blog is boxingalongthebeltway.blogspot.com, and been in business now 14 years. I'm on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, Stitcher.com, and on TuneIn as well as YouTube for my podcast, Boxing Along the Beltway Podcast Network. And I can be reached on Twitter at Digital25. So you want to do that as well. And don't forget Sunday, March 24th, we're live at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland for the Develop Entertainment TGB Promotions card that features the Peterson brothers. Mark Peterson takes on Sergey Lipinets, 12-round bout there, and Anthony Peterson battles Argenis Mendez in a 10-round bout. Those are the major bouts there. That leads up to a huge April in boxing.
Yes.
With April 6th, we'll be at the Washington Golden Gloves at Rose Croft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Friday through Sunday, April 12th, possibly through the 14th, the Virginia, North Carolina Golden Gloves. April 20th, we'll be at Rose Croft Raceway for a pro show there. And April 27th, we'll be at Rose Croft for the regional Golden Gloves. And there's another pro show May 4th in Waldorf, Maryland as well. Also, the Belfast Beltway Boxing Classic will be Saturday, April 27th at the Warbin Hotel in Washington, D.C., and a couple other big bouts along the way.
Now they can find all this stuff out, right, at your blog.
BoxingAlongTheBeltway.blogspot.com.
Boxing Along the
In the next
Beltway.
couple of days, I'll be putting up the April schedule. And again, the April schedule is massive. We got Nick Kisner, young man out of Ferndale, Maryland. He's fighting on the undercard. Actually, he's one of the feature bouts on the card that features Clarissa Shields against Christina Hammer.
Oh, that's going to be some girls fighting.
Undisputed middleweight championship on Showtime. So he'll be a part of that card as well.
Excellent. Okay, so we need some boxers too, Gary.
question.
You gonna
Okay.
bring some boxers?
I'll bring some boxers on.
Promoters?
definitely.
Yes, that's what we want too. We want to hear from the actual boxers right here.
Yes.
Anyway, it's your girl Alina Salvin right here at the Hustle. Don't forget, each and every Tuesday, 6 p.m., right here, tune into listenvisionlive.com. You know it's your girl. I always got something brewing, something really cool. And we're getting ready to kick off some serious boxing stuff going on. As the weather breaks, so does the whole boxing world. So I'm bringing boxing back to D.C. as well in the DMV. I want it to get so popular, so I'm committed to that. Gary, thank you so
problem,
much.
man.
You are
Thank you.
always wonderful.
Thank you, babe. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Appreciate it.
We will see you back in
right.
April. Hey guys, I'll see you all. Thank you, Lawrence. We're gonna run that video, Capital Goga. Maybe we just gotta do it next week. When Michael's going to be here next week. He's going to be talking about the Michael Jackson case. He's going to be talking about politics. And then he's also going to give us about the business of boxing and why, what DC got to do in terms of the business to bring boxing back to DC, just in terms of some business stuff going on too, that he could share as someone who worked on the boxing commission. So I'll see you guys later. Bye. See you all.